To our September meeting, and we will begin with the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd just like to begin by saying that we have 3 board members who are remote tonight, Ms. Penny Grinnell, Mr. Sam Johnson, and Ms. Sandy Pangburn. And then there are, of course, the 6 of us sitting right here. We're going to begin with a special report, a construction update. And so how about starting us off on that, Kevin?
Sure. Just bear with me 1 second while I get it loaded up on the screen. And we'll get right into it. So thank you, everyone. So hopefully everyone's off to a great start to the school year. As usual, we're going to be providing a construction update for all activities that have been completed since the last board meeting, and activities that will continue throughout the school year on second shift, weekends, holidays. As always, activities will be coordinated by Turner Construction with the school district. So as always, we like to give a floor layout of the middle school for referencing purposes as we start making our way through the building. We're substantially complete with all of the wings in the middle school, with the exception of punch list work and some work to complete in the A-wing auditorium. So jumping right into A-wing, the renovation areas for levels 1 and 2 reached substantial completion for occupancy in the start of the 2020 school year. Current construction activities in the renovation areas include architectural and mechanical, electrical, plumbing punch list. Construction is going to continue in the A-wing auditorium. That is going to be done on second shift while everyone's out of the building. And that is currently trending towards a December 2020 completion date. B-wing, once again, reached substantial completion for occupancy. Everything's been turned over to the school for use. We're still actively working on punch list items, both architecturally and mechanical, electrical, plumbing. So C-wing is the same as B-wing, reached substantial completion. Everything's turned back over. Current construction activities are, in the renovation areas that were completed, include architectural and MEP punch list. You're going to see a common theme here throughout the presentation, just because we, at the last board update prior to this, we had basically brought everybody up to speed with everything that was getting closed out, final cleaning wise, and right now we're at substantial completion. Moving along to E-wing, which is the art and music wing, currently reached substantial completion. We have ongoing construction activities on second shift with regards to punch list. F-wing, which is the north addition, that's on the side of the fields of the middle school. Current construction activities in this addition area include architectural and MEP punch lists for both floors 1 and 2. This addition is also substantially complete and turned back over to the district for use. G-wing is substantially complete with activities including architectural and mechanical, electrical, plumbing punch list. Everything's been turned back over. The K-wing cafeteria renovation is substantially complete. We have some miscellaneous architectural and work to complete items that are currently being addressed second shift. This past month's work, it consisted of delivery and install of kitchen equipment, final painting, cleaning, finished ceilings, light fixtures, and final MEP connections to the kitchen equipment. The K-Wing addition, the area is substantially complete with current construction activities, including architectural MEP punch list. This past month, we were able to final clean, final paint, drop ceilings, light fixtures, install carpet, casework. So there's going to be some miscellaneous comeback work, but that'll be addressed second shift. Site improvements, site construction will continue with traffic signage, some work on the JV fields on the north side of the middle school, landscape punch list items, and completed items over the past month included striping of the final blacktop and setting the furniture and planters in the exterior courtyard. Moving along to the elementary schools, Southgate is substantially complete. The previous activities include final painting, completion of ceilings, completion of flooring at the main office, installed music room casework and office casework. Final cleaning is now complete with the front lawn area restored, and we have current construction activities, including punch list. Blue Creek Elementary, Bout Hills Elementary is substantially complete. Current construction activities include the punch list that we're currently monitoring on a nightly basis. Previous activities included completion of drywall, paint, terrazzo at the main office, VCT flooring, ceilings, installation of music casework and office casework. Final cleaning has been completed, and the front entrance sidewalk was placed and the front lawn restored. Everything's been turned back over to the district for occupancy. Blue Creek is substantially complete. Once again, we had casework installation, flooring, excuse me, ceilings, light fixtures, final cleanings completed. Basically everything contractually in order to get the building operational for the start of the 2020 school year has been completed. Current construction activities are architectural and MEP punch lists on second shift. So shifting to the high school, the site work, you might have noticed coming into the entrance drive, it looks a little different. So we were able to remove the trees that were scheduled to come out along the high school entrance drive. We were able to complete the main office renovation. It's substantially complete for occupancy. So that work completed includes ceilings and final cleaning, flooring, miscellaneous revised layout of the existing space. The main entrance and vestibule was delayed due to unforeseen conditions that require structural steel modifications, which is currently in the process of being scheduled. This work will, however, continue second shift through the fall, and we're pushing the contractors for as a quick turnaround on this to try and get everything completed and turned back over to the district. So the addition in Area A, the home and careers, is currently trending towards a fall 2020 completion. That's how we're trending right now, and I understand that space is very important given the current state of affairs. So we're really pushing the contractors along in order to try and assist in any way we can. We completed the exterior stud framing, sheathing, roofing, and interior framework, including MEP rough-in as well. So that addition is trending well currently. The Area E second floor renovation, it's going to be a phased demolition. So work will continue through the school year on second shift, but that will only recommence once we're able to relocate the faculty from their existing main office on the second floor down to the first floor main office, which is just currently renovated. Moving along to the elementary schools. So all the renovation work at Forts Ferry has been substantially completed. All the work that was scheduled for the reno work for 2020 summer and has been turned back over to the district. So just some recent work includes completion of concrete foundations, slab on grade for the cafe addition. And we started the structural steel, and also we're able to get some electrical rough in and device installation for the completion of the new fire alarm system. Construction activities are going to continue second shift at the school. Latham Ridge Elementary, once again, we've completed all of the summer 2020 reno work in the front corridor, which included installing the aluminum and glass storefront system at the entrance corridor. We completed the temporary tunnel that will be fully lit, heated, and equipped with the full egress tunnel. Electrical rough-in and device installation, fin tube radiation units were completed, as well as the sidewalks and the asphalt binder. So construction is going to continue second shift at this elementary school as well. And at Loudonville, all the renovation work for 2020 was substantially complete and turned back over to the district for use. Recent work includes the installation of a skylight at some of the interior rooms, completed drywall, ceilings, light fixtures, and foundation work for the classroom prep edition. That's room 19B. Also completed was the electrical rough-in and device installation for the new fire alarm system, as well as mechanical systems for 4 of the interior classrooms. All construction activities for all of these elementary schools are going to continue second shift and will be coordinated with North Colony. Are there any questions?
Does the board have any questions? No?
It's beautiful.
It's beautiful. Except for the fact the trees had to go. But other than that,
That's awesome.
Why did the trees have to go? Just curious. I don't remember that coming up before, but I probably missed a meeting about that.
They were diseased.
Yeah, so there was a disease that unfortunately claimed the trees along the high school entrance.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't, because it doesn't look like the road is going to be widened or anything there, right? I mean, the road.
That's not the intent.
Okay.
No, Sandy, there was really concerned about the durability of the trees in bad weather and the like, and so it was a safety concern because they had been diseased and because there was substantial rot to the structure of the tree.
Gotcha. Okay. What kind of trees were they? The elms?
Now you're really testing me.
No, that's all right. Never mind. It's just a curiosity from a gardener's point of view. No worries.
I tell you what, I can get that answer to you.
No, that's okay. I was just curious what's afflicting our trees.
everything looks great. It's moving along nicely. And when we've taken some tours, the lighting is great. So many exciting changes to those buildings. So thank you very much, Kevin.
You're welcome. Thank you for having us.
Thanks, Kevin.
Okay, next we have a report, Matt Stein.
Hello, everyone. Can everyone hear me okay?
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to get my screen shared and get started, if you can bear with me. Everything look good on that end?
It does.
Yep. Perfect.
Okay, so thanks for having me. I'm going to start off with just reviewing our goals for the fall athletic season. As always, just in the past, we want to provide a positive experience for our student athletes. I think we can all agree that that we can't provide enough positive experiences, especially those that are live and in person, in the times that we're living in. So I think this really has extra meaning for us this year. And of course, just to bring some of that normalcy back to our student athletes day, that, go to school and then get to practice every single day and compete once or twice a week. So hopefully we're going to be able to bring some of that normalcy back to their life. Of course, we want to adhere to the safety guidelines, and I'll be able to share with you tonight some of those guidelines and also where those guidelines came from. And of course, we want to conduct a safe season, which we always want to, but this year conducting a safe season has a whole new meaning, and we'll touch upon that as well. So things will be a little bit different this fall. The sports that we are able to offer, as you can see listed here on the screen, varsity and JV boys and girls cross country, and varsity and JV boys and girls soccer, varsity and JV field hockey, varsity and JV girls tennis, varsity and JV boys golf, varsity girls golf, and varsity girls swimming, minus the diving portion of our swim program. For some of you who may not know, when we had our pool renovation a few years ago now, the boards had to be removed, and we have been diving at Sienna, and just using that location or other locations that we've looked into really aren't a possibility due to some of those restrictions with COVID. Typically in the fall, you know that football, cheerleading, and volleyball are part of a normal fall program. The New York State Public High School Athletic Association has made the decision to move these three sports to what's being referred to as Fall 2 season, which is going to occur from starting March 1st and to be completed by April 30th. And yes, you can, for the first time in many years, participate in four different teams in 4 different seasons. So that is possible. Unfortunately, you know, because of some of the restrictions, our modified program will not be offered this fall. Now, this is not just a decision at North Colony, but the entire Suburban Council has made the decision that schedules will not be created for the modified 9, and the freshman levels this fall. It was based on a number of factors, and you can see I have a few of them listed on the screen, such as transportation, school schedules, budgets, etc. And every school in the league really had one or more of these challenges when it came to the modified level. So as a whole, it really just made sense that we had to prioritize first our varsity athletes and then work our way down from there as we can accommodate. So for us at Shaker, it means our JV and varsity levels. Some of our counterparts in the Suburban Council are just offering the varsity level in some sports. Again, that's related to some of the challenges that you see on the screen that they're facing in those districts. One of the things, though, that we have tasked our coaches with is how can we create opportunities for our 7th and 8th grade student athletes that are going to miss out this fall in the modified level. So we are working on that, but I think it's important to point out that just today we sent out a district communication thanks to the great work of our boys and girls soccer coaches and the really good relationship they have with Latham Circle Soccer, that Latham Circle Soccer is putting together a 7th and 8th grade program this fall for kids in the community. It's not something they normally run because we have our modified level, but they've thrown this together quickly to create some opportunities for those kids. So any way we can try to supplement opportunities, either internally through intramural programs or externally with our community programs, that's something that we're working to do. And, you know, today was a great credit to those community programs getting that soccer program off the ground for this fall for those students. So another piece to not having our modified sports and limiting our participation is we had to seriously limit the number of our student athletes that we put through our advanced placement process. To just sum this up quickly, the advanced placement process is the process that takes place for 7th and 8th grade exceptional athletes to play at the high school level. And we normally have quite a few athletes that fall into this category, but our biggest concern was really having a large number of athletes coming from the junior high cohort and participating in the high school athletic cohort. We thought that really needed to be limited. So what we decided as a district was that any setter who did advance last year in the fall of 2019 to the high school level in a sport, we would grandfather those students in. Just to give you an idea, we're talking about less than 6 kids that fall into this category. So we've really, really limited, you know, the number of kids who are crossing cohorts from junior high to our high school sports. And it's something that hopefully next year we're back to some normalcy and we can offer this opportunity back to 7th and 8th graders, to kids that it's appropriate for. So we've limited in that area. One of the things that we've done that has really helped with our recheck process, that's the process that our families need to follow to get themselves cleared by our nurses for each season, is we moved to an online platform called Family ID. This has become a very popular online platform for public school sports registrations. We're about the 5th school in the Suburban Council, and I believe about the 15th or 16th in Section 2 to go to it. It has allowed us, and it has allowed our families to complete their recheck process completely remotely. It's a great tool, and it's actually a great tool for our coaches as well, because it allows them to see in live time when a student athlete has been cleared by the nurse. Also, it's given our families the ability that they can upload any necessary paperwork, meaning if they have a copy of their physical, that can be uploaded to their Family ID account for the nurse. If they have anything with doctor's orders, sometimes with EpiPens, or if they have an inhaler for asthma and they need orders to go along with that, those can be uploaded as well. So that process has really, really helped us streamline our recheck process and keep parents from having to come into the building to drop off the paperwork, which, as we know in these times, especially over this past summer, that wasn't something that was really possible. So that's something new that we added this year that's been a big, big benefit. So health and safety, and this is really a significant part of getting fall athletics off the ground. We know that, and I know you're aware of the amount of work that went into this summer getting our students back to school, and really getting them back on the field has been a significant amount of work as well. We're lucky that we have the support of our district administration and our school board to even really have the ability to do this work and give our student athletes this opportunity. So some of the things that I want to make you aware of in regards to health and safety with our fall season. First and foremost, daily attestations are required, just like they are to come to school. If a student is in school that day, they do not have to take a second attestation to come to practice. But if they are a full virtual student, or they're a hybrid student who is home that day, they do a test before they show up on campus for practice. And just like if a student shows up without the attestation during the day, they're sent to the nurse to get a temperature screening. Well, after school, we send our athlete to the athletic trainer for a temperature screening if they show up without an attestation. The bulk of our guidance has come from the New York State Public High School Athletic Association Return to Interscholastic document, which I'm going to briefly show you towards the end of the presentation. There's a second document, which is the New York State Department of Health Return to Recreation and Sports document that we took our guidance from. And then we then created North Colony Guidelines, which again, I will briefly show you at the end. And our North Colony Guidelines really are just language taken both from the Department of Health document, the NISPA document, and we put it into a little bit more streamlined document and added some things that apply specifically to our district and to our facilities. So we have that to share with you as well. The biggest piece that our student athletes are really gonna have to get used to, and being out on the fields today on day one, I have to say they did a fantastic job, is playing high school sports this fall. Masks are part of the process. And there's a few different parts to this that I think is really important that I get to share with you today. First and foremost, wearing a mask during gameplay and during practice is not just a North Colony decision, it is a Suburban Council decision. And it also comes directly from the New York State Public High School Athletic Association guidance. So we will be wearing masks. Interestingly, in the guidance, it states that student athletes must wear masks as tolerated. So this is how we have defined it. We have told our student athletes that when you are at practice or you are in competition, you are masked up. There are times you can be masked down, and they are as follows. When a coach has taken a designated mask break. That's a timeout from practice. Everybody's getting some water. Everybody can be distanced. The second time that a mask can go down is if you are in a sport where it is appropriate. For example, if you are a golfer, when our golfers are at the tee box and they are in close proximity to each other, we are masked up. When our golfers tee off and they walk to play their next shot to their ball and no one is around them, that would be an appropriate time to be masked down. The third time is what we are defining as a self-regulated mask break. And this is really important. This is going to be the most, we believe is going to be the most important point that we're going to have to make with our student athletes and that we've really started to hit home today. And that is any student athlete has the right to take their mask down if they feel they cannot tolerate it. But what we are telling our student athletes is if you must take your mask down, if you need a self-regulated mask break, the conditions are you need to remove yourself from others to do so. We've told our student athletes that could mean you may be in a game or a scrimmage situation. And if you need to be masked down, that means you need to remove yourself or get to a part of the field where you can safely take your mask down or be asked to move out of the game. But if at any time during the game you can tolerate it, we are going to be mask up. And that will be for the entire Suburban Council. We have a lot of steps in place for equipment disinfecting. Our coaches have provided all the materials to disinfect. On top of that, in the athletic department and phys ed department, we have 4 foggers that we've purchased that we use specifically for phys ed and athletic equipment that all of our coaches have access to fog down their equipment at the end of the day, or even partway through practice if they feel necessary, and then everything can be disinfected. Personal hygiene is big, and it's not only something that we promote with our athletes all of the time anyway, but to take it a step further with limited locker room use, meaning locker rooms cannot be used to store things in lockers, just as a place to change after school. That really helps eliminate a big piece of the personal hygiene. If you've ever been in the boys' locker room in the fall, you get some clothes that have been in there for a while and it starts to smell a little funky. That part has been eliminated. Those lockers cannot be used. We've already provided all of our coaches with the necessary startup PPE that they need. We've given them hand sanitizer, we've given them gloves, we've given them extra masks. If we have any coaches that feel they need a face shield, we can provide it. And we've purchased electric whistles for all of our coaches. If you've read any of the literature, it is said that a traditional whistle is a problem, that blowing into a whistle, there are vapors that get released into the air. So every coach now has an electric whistle, and we've taken that out of the equation. We've told our student athletes that they need to bring their own water if they're coming from home. And if they're in school that day, our bottle filling stations are still available. The water fountains are not, but the bottle fillers are, and they have the ability to fill their water bottles before they hit the field. But the bottom line is we will not be bringing out jugs and having community water areas. Everybody needs to have their own container. And of course, as always, we're always prepared for student athletes that may have forgot that day or need something. We have plenty of bottled water on hand if we just need to give student athletes some water that day because they forgot their jug at home and they had school that day and they aren't prepared. So we will definitely support them in that manner. Our impact testing is something that has always occurred, and that's our part of our concussion management protocol. I just want to share with you that even though we are under some different scenarios this fall, our impact testing will still occur as it always has. For our 9th and 11th graders and for our students who are new to North Colony, we do what's called a baseline test. And our baseline testing normally is in a computer lab, but quite simply, we're going to be able to bring our groups in with their Chromebooks and do our baseline testing. So we don't even need to worry about them sharing a keyboard in the computer lab. We'll be able to perform our impact testing with the students' own Chromebooks and devices. And then last, as far as health and safety, is our athletic safety coordinator positions, which I have drafted a proposal for you tonight to look at. And I wanted to talk a little bit about that. I know that you've been provided with a memo from me that gives a description of some of the duties of the athletic safety coordinator positions that I'm proposing. But I think what's really important for you to know is under our current situation, we are lacking the typical adults and supervision that we are able to provide after school. If we were to just look at a typical fall, after school, we have some of our hall monitors that are around the building, making sure that it's safe, wandering the outside of the building, making sure things are safe. Those people are not here this year. So we are right off from the beginning, we're lacking the proper adult supervision around the building. And that's a real important part of having our safety coordinators present. But then we're really looking to take their responsibilities to a whole nother level. Some of the things that I mentioned to you are really, they are helping us and they are helping our coaches and our student athletes implement the policies and procedures to have a safe fall season. They're there to support coaches with PPE and disinfecting needs. They're there to help support coaches in making sure that our student athletes are following proper mask procedures. But what's something that's really important is they're going to be there supporting all of our spectator protocols, which I'm going to be able to share with you in a minute. Because all of our events that happen on campus, whether they're after school, whether they're an evening event, or whether they're on a Saturday, if you are to approve our safety coordinator positions, they are going to be the ones that are going to be responsible to make sure that our the state's spectator policies are being followed, the number of spectators are being followed, we're tracing the people who are coming to watch games, and that all of the policies and procedures are being followed so we can be as safe as we possibly can. So that being said, a couple positive case scenarios that I think are worth discussing with the Board of Education tonight. First and foremost, if we had a Shaker athlete who was positive or was exposed to COVID, well, first, we are hoping that by following all of our safety procedures, that we know that sometimes an exposure can happen. Our student athletes can do everything right by proper mask wearing and social distancing, and they can be exposed outside of when they're here on our school grounds. We know that's a possibility, and we know that can happen. So what our hopes are that by keeping our teams together on separate facilities, not cross-mingling with each other, and really a team becomes a cohort that if we have an exposure that is out of our control, that when the Department of Health takes over in that situation, as you know this, it's no different with one of our students during the school day, that if a team has to be shut down, that it may have to be shut down. But our hope is that if it is, and everyone is traced, that it didn't spread amongst the team because we followed all the correct protocols. And our coaches and our athletes and parents have been told that a shutdown may be out of our control, even if we do everything right. But we will know if we've done everything right if during that shutdown, there wasn't a major spread amongst our team. So if there is, that is part of our goal. We also know that we could have an opponent that had a positive case or an exposure. That could happen in two ways. It could be an opponent we already played and we found out after the fact, or it could be an opponent that we are going to be playing in the near future in our schedule. Obviously, if we have an opponent that has a positive case or an exposure that we already played, we're going to take our direction from the County Department of Health, and they'll tell us what procedures we need to follow. And if it's an opponent we are playing in the near future, then that game simply may get canceled for the season, or it may get moved depending on how much of the season is left. And our student athletes and our parents know that there is a possibility that we could lose contests this year if there is an exposure on another team that we have yet to play. And the possible effects on scheduling, I believe I just shared with you there, and we'll take it in stride. The expectation to make up games is much lower than it has been in the past because we are just limited on time. So our students arrive to school for practice. First, our locker rooms are only available for the students that were in live session that day. Any student athlete that is home that day on instruction, when they arrive on campus, they are to go directly to their area to practice. So, for example, today, we have 4 different locker rooms that were designated for particular sports and genders. So we're not trying to put everyone in just one boys locker room and one girls locker room. We're utilizing all of our spaces. And we've also identified how many people can fit into a locker room, but I'm going to come back to that just in a second. So the only exception we have is our swimmers, either if they're in school or arriving from home, they get to use the locker room because they need to change into their bathing suit. And after they get out of the pool, they need to quickly shower down and be able to change out before they leave the building. So they get to use the locker room every single day. And of course, if an athlete did not attend school during the day, as I mentioned before, they have to complete an attestation before they arrive. So as I started to allude to earlier, our locker room and bathroom use is very strictly monitored. And this is something that, if you were to approve, is going to be part of the roles of our safety coordinators. As I mentioned before, teams have been assigned specific locker rooms. We have green dots spread out, distanced properly inside of our locker rooms, and each one has been identified with a number of athletes that can be in there at one time. Today, we had some of the people in our athletic office counting the number of students that have gone in and counting them as they come out. We did not experience any wait times today. So everyone who needed to get in got into the locker room without waiting and came out and got to practice. It may be different tomorrow when we have a North Day. It may just have happened that there was less South student athletes than there's going to be North. We'll get a feel from that as we go on the next few days. But everything is monitored so that the locker rooms, social distancing is used, that there's not too many people occupying the space. And of course, our locker rooms are becoming part of the cleaning schedule as well. They didn't need to be last week because they weren't used for phys ed or after school, but now they are in circulation into our cleaning schedule. Transportation, a huge challenge for offering a full athletic program for any school in New York State this year. As you know, a total of 22 passengers are allowed on a bus, and that's including our coaches. So that being said, we have already begun to ask our coaches to communicate with their parents. We are encouraging them, if they would like, to drive their child to and from away contest. That's not something that we have done in the past, but we're encouraging it. And we've had a number of people say they're interested in doing that. We do know, though, for our students who are completely remote, as mentioned, they do need to get a ride to school when they are remote that day for practice, or at least they need to get a ride to school that day if there's an away contest to catch the bus at school. That expectation has been set all along and communicated to all of our families. So if you are home that day and you are on a team, you're going to need to get a ride in for practice or to catch a bus to an away contest if needed. Our spectator guidelines come from the state, come from the New York State Public High School guidance document. They are allowing 2 spectators per athlete at a contest. So simply said, if we are hosting a girls soccer game and there's 20 members on the Shaker roster and 20 members on the Guilderland roster, that means that there can be 80 people present, spectators who are watching the game. As you can imagine, this is something that can be really difficult if not monitored appropriately. So the Suburban Council has decided to use what we're calling a badge system. These are going to be laminated passes on a lanyard that each student athlete will get 2. The student athlete can choose which 2 come to the game. It does not have to be the same. It does not have to be mom and dad every time. It can be grandma and grandpa. It can be any 2 of their choosing, but they get 2 that can attend. So if we have the opportunity and to support our safety coordinator positions, they are going to be monitoring this process and making sure the people who come to games are badged. On the badge, we not only have our code of conduct for spectators, but on the back, we have a health attestation. That's the same questions that we ask of our student athlete or our students that come to school every day. And essentially what we're telling our spectators is that by coming to the game, by wearing this badge, they are attesting by the 5 questions that we ask anyone who enters our building. And also they're required to wear masks and be socially distanced when they're on campus watching a contest. One more step that we'll be taking as well is when parents or spectators come to a game, we're going to be asking for names and phone numbers for contact tracing purposes. The one sport that will not have spectators this winter or this fall is going to be swimming. That was a suburban council decision. All of the pools in the suburban council, except for one, do not have the ability to space out 2 teams on their deck appropriately and still have room for spectators. So that was purely a safety decision. And so all swim contests this year will not have spectators. And I will add that some swim contests this year are also going to be virtual, meaning you will swim your events at your school with one official. Your opponent will swim the same events at their school with one official, and the results will get compared and a team score will be tabulated. As of today, we will be participating in some live swim meets and some virtual meets this season. And the last thing I'll add for spectators is if you've seen our beautiful new tennis courts, you know that we have an alley that sits in the middle of our courts. And that's something that we are reserving for just our athletes who are waiting to play their match. So the alley will purely be for athletes, and we're going to ask parents to spectate from outside the fence around the complex to keep those kids safe in the middle. And last but certainly not least, I wanted to share just quickly these links. So we have a return to interscholastic athletics document. This is a 50-page document that was created by the New York State Public High School Athletic Association, which I shared with you before, is really where the majority of our safety guidance came from for this fall. We also referenced the Department of Health's interim guidance for sports and recreation, as you can see here. And then, as I mentioned before, we took these 2 documents and sort of melded them into a 15-page document that gets down to some of the local aspects in the North Colony School District to how we're going to safely run our fall program. The items I'm showing you in red are the things that are specific to our district. Everything else in black is language that we use from the NISPA document and the DOH document. And last but certainly not least, we've also created a host protocol. And this is a document that's going to go out to all of our teams in the league, essentially saying, when you come onto our campus, this is where you should park. This, if you're going to a particular field, these are the rules we're adhering by. These are the expectations we set. So schools, when they visit, whether it's the opposing coach and team or their spectators, they're prepared to come watch a contest on our campus. So that is the conclusion of my slideshow, and I would like to open it up to any questions that any of our board members may have of me.
I don't have a question. I just want to make a quick comment. You know, we are seeing other school districts locally that are not playing all their fall sports. And I want to give a lot of credit and thank you to Matt and his team for allowing Shaker to play all the fall sports that are allowed by the state. As you can see, there's a lot of detail that went into this, melding both district plans with state plans. And I think it's very important that we are providing families the choice if they want to participate. So I wanted to say kudos to Matt and his team for all their work to provide that option for families.
Thank you.
I would certainly agree. We want our student athletes to be able to compete, and you know, we talk about normalcy, and we want that for them. And I think I think you've done great work on this, and your coaches, your staff, just have done really great work. And it's the kind of work that really makes us trust what you're doing.
Thank you.
And that's really important for us and for the families and for the entire community. And I also like the notion of the Latham Circle coming up with that plan for the 7th and 8th graders. I think that was a great idea as well. So anyway, it's back to trust, and we trust you, and you've done a great job.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
I have a few questions. If nobody, I'll jump in if nobody else does. You mentioned the possibility of a shutdown of a team, which we obviously hope doesn't happen. Is that something that would be triggered only by the health department, or do we have set levels or something like that that we are anticipating? Anticipating is the wrong word. I don't want to put it that way.
Sure.
But that we are planning for, if things get this bad, we're ready to make the decision ourselves, or are we going to just trust the county health department is going to be on top of things?
Well, I will say that, we're always going to err on the side of caution. So if we hear of a potential case or exposure, I would say that if it warranted just putting a team on pause until we can get more information, that's the safe way to go. Putting a team on pause may be, look, we need to cancel practice for a day, or if the next day is a contest, we maybe look to do a reschedule until we can investigate. Of course, I would never just make that decision on my own. I would be informing Mr. Core of the details that we know at that time. We would collaborate on that. But we would err on the side of caution and pause if we had to until we can really get more information and really find out, what the Department of Health may or may not know at that time either. They may not be informed yet, and work with them.
Okay, thank you. A question about the spectator badges. If I'm a student and I have 2 badges, but only one parent who's interested in participating, and a teammate has another parent or relative or something who would like to, can I share my badge with them?
Absolutely.
Okay, so it's an average thing.
Absolutely. It is an athlete gets 2. The 2 they choose is up to them.
Okay, so it's not limited to family. It's just anybody that's important to the team, but it's 2 per athlete.
Correct.
Okay.
And I will say that, one idea. So one of the downsides of the policy is we lose the student athlete, or excuse me, we lose the student section at our games, right? If we're saying 2 and it's usually parents, then any students who just want to come watch a contest really don't have the ability.
Right.
So that's a huge downside. But our coaches have been really creative, and they've thought about, geez, well, what if we have a night contest and we ask all of the players and parents if they would be willing to let the player give their 2 passes to students so they can come that night and try to do something to engage our students to come watch a contest. So we're kicking around different ideas to engage our students to come to contests, but still be able to stay within the rules.
Okay, great. And then finally, you mentioned collecting contact information for spectators for the purposes of contact tracing. Do we have a procedure in place for protecting that information and destroying it when it's no longer relevant?
So yes, it would go into our shredder, but we would need to hold on to it in my office, obviously, for a period of time if there was a case. Yep.
Okay, so we have a procedure in place for that to be able to take care of that. Okay, great.
Yep.
Thank you. That's all I have. Thank you. This is very thorough. I appreciate that.
Yep. Thanks.
I don't, any other questions? Doesn't appear that there are any other questions. So again, thank you for your leadership on this, Matt. It's been outstanding.
Thanks, everyone.
Outstanding.
Appreciate it.
All right, I think we will proceed to personnel actions. I'd like a motion to approve personnel actions. Mrs. Narillo,
I move to approve personnel actions as recommended by the superintendent of schools.
thank you. In a second, Mr. Chavo, any questions or comments? Hearing none, you know what? Sometimes I forget the vote on this. So I was just gonna go right ahead with the vote and then come back to you.
That would be great.
All in favor? All right, thank you. And Mr. Core, do you have anything you might
Yes,
like to
tonight
say?
is usually the night that we have recognition of our new faculty, our new hires. I'd just like to point out that we have 3 new administrators in the district, and I have 3 pages of these, so I won't read all the names. We have 6 individuals who were on leave positions who have moved into probationary appointments. We have 28 new elementary staff, 3 at grades 7 and 8, 7 at grades 9 through 12, 8 non-instructional staff that we've added. And then we've also added our teacher force and our teacher partnership. to allow us to provide support and supervision for our students who are in the hybrid program when they come to school. And that's an additional 31 individuals. So we want to take the time to welcome all our new hires to the North Colony family, and we are very proud to have you as a member of our school community. So thank you very much.
And we look forward to meeting everyone. Let's be optimistic, sometime later in the year. All right, let's move along. I'd like a motion to approve recommendations regarding placement, classification of students, as well as special appointments and contracts. I can't see. Mr. Rondell,
I will approve recommendations regarding placement and classification of students as reviewed by the district committee on special education for 2020-2021 school year, and recommendations regarding placement and classification of students as reviewed by the district committee on special education for 2020-2021 school year, and I approve special appointments and contracts as recommended by the Director of School Services.
thank you. In a second, Mrs. Nardolillo. Any questions or comments? Mrs. Durazio?
I have a question, Mr. Barton. It is about the Eden 2 program. It's for an FBA assessment, I believe. And it says the rate of service is $200 per hour, not to exceed $10,200. So that's roughly like 50 hours. Is that a typical amount of time for an FBA?
No, that's not a typical amount of time. That's just there so it doesn't exceed that number. But roughly, FBA assessment runs around $2,500 to $3,000 total for an outside consultant to conduct the FBA.
Okay. And this was just for one student, though.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Thank you. I'd like a motion to approve an amendment to the maximum reserve funding. All right, Mr. Chavo,
I move to approve the amendment to the maximum reserve funding levels for 2020-2021 as recommended by the Assistant Superintendent for Business.
thank you. In a second, Mrs. Nardolillo, any questions or comments? Hearing none. Oh, do you have a comment? Hearing? Oh, yeah, go
I
ahead.
just wanted to ask Scott, are there any rumblings about tax cert cases out there that you're aware of?
There most certainly is. It is roughly 50% greater in terms of volume than we've seen the last 3 years.
I figured that.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you. I was looking forward to that.
Always
Thanks for the good news.
good news, yeah. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Thank you. I'd like a motion to approve an MOU with Schenectady County Community College. Mr. Johnson?
I move to approve the memorandum of understanding between SUNY Schenectady County Community College and North Colony Central School District for the 2020-2021 academic year, as recommended by the Assistant Superintendent for Business.
Thank you. And a second? Okay, Mr. Razio? Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Thank you. I'd like a motion to approve the resolution to temporarily modify grade configuration of our elementary schools. Mr. Cannon?
I move to approve the resolution to temporarily modify the grade configurations of the District 6 elementary schools, Shaker Junior High and Shaker High School for the 2020-2021 school year in accordance with New York State Department of Education and Department of Health social reopening guidance due to the COVID-19 worldwide pandemic as recommended by the Superintendent of Schools.
Thank you. And a second, Ms. Grinnell, any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Thank you. I'd like a motion to approve an MOA with the North Colony Teachers Association and 2 teachers. Mr. Shavo?
I move to approve the memorandum of agreement by and between the North Colony Central School District and the North Colony Teachers Association and Peter Suzuki and Michael Lanahan as recommended by the superintendent of schools.
Thank you. And a second? Mr. Johnson, any comments or questions? Hearing none, all in favor? Thank you. I'd like a motion to approve agreements with Parson Child and Family Center. All right, Mr. Razio?
I move to approve the agreement with Parsons Child and Family Center, an affiliate of Northern Rivers Family Services, to provide a satellite behavioral health center located at Shaker High School on a fee-for-service basis for terms of July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2021, as recommended by the Assistant Superintendent for Business. The agreement specifies Northern Rivers billing procedures for services rendered to students and families, and recommendation to approve a second agreement with Parsons Child and Family Center, an affiliate of Northern Rivers Family Services, to provide a satellite behavioral health center located at Shaker High School for a term of July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2021. North Colony will pay Capital Region BOCES an annual minimum base rate of $36,750, subject to the terms of the agreement.
Thank you. And a second? Mrs. Pangburn? Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Thank you. I'd like a motion to approve a resolution to accept a donation. Mrs. Nordillo?
I move to approve the resolution to accept a donation as recommended by the Assistant Superintendent for Business.
Thank you. In a second, Mr. Cannon, any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Thank you. I'd like a motion to approve change orders. Mr. Johnson?
I move to approve the following change orders. 3 change orders COR 004 through 006, totaling $104,301 to the Bast Hatfield Construction LLC contract. 1 change order COR 030 in the amount of $2,096 to the Bet and Kring LLC contract. 3 change orders COR 048 through 050, totaling $28,888 to the Bunkoff General Contractors Incorporated contract. 1 change order COR 016 in the amount of $2,618 to the DeGiusseri Mechanical Incorporated contract. 2 change orders COR 023 and 024, totaling $2,465 to the Flex Electric LLC contract, and 1 change order COR 028 in the amount of $24,669 to the Castleman Electric Company Incorporated contract, as recommended by the Assistant Superintendent for Business.
Thank you. In a second, Mr. Vondell, any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Thank you. I'd like a motion to approve the appointment of Scott Hoot and Kathleen Caulfield to some new positions there. Mr. Shavo?
I move to approve the appointment of Scott Hoot as District Purchasing Agent effective October 1st, 2020, and Kathleen Caulfield as Extra Classroom Activity Advisor effective September 23rd, 2020, as recommended by the Superintendent of Schools.
Thank you. In a second, Mrs. Nardolillo, any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Thank you. I'd like a motion to approve a shared service agreement with Manans. Ms. Grinnell?
My apologies. I move to approve the shared services agreement with Manans Union Free School District for the North Colony Central School District to provide special education services for students residing in Manans Union Free School District for the 2020-2021 school year as recommended by the Assistant Superintendent for Business.
Thank you. And a second, Mr. Shavo, any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Thank you. I would like a motion to approve an intermunicipal agreement with South Colony Mrs. Nardolillo,
I move to approve the intermunicipal agreement with South Colony Central School District for the 2020-2021 transportation services as recommended by the Assistant Superintendent for Business.
thank you. In a second, Mr. Johnson. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Thank you. We don't have any committee reports tonight, but we will be having an audit meeting on September 30th. Mrs. Pangburn and Mrs. Nardolillo are co-chairs of audit. And the budget meeting is scheduled for October 5th. And Mr. Vondell and Mrs. Nardolillo are budget co-chairs, so we can note those down. And let's see what else. I think that's it. We'll go to business office. Oh, would you like to say something?
Yes, I would. Yes, just in terms of recognitions, so we do not have specific recognitions this month, but I would like to, first of all, recognize the staff, the faculty, our parents and our community who made our reopening of school possible. Whether you are learning remotely or whether you are learning in a hybrid form or whether you are learning in person, I totally appreciate the efforts of all those aforementioned groups in making this opening of school a possibility. We are looking forward, proceeding forward with optimism, hope, and we believe a good plan to support all our students. And so I think it did take a community effort, and I want to thank our Board of Education for their unwavering support of all of us as we do this work. I also would like to note too, we have a letter here from Mr. Dave Gaynor. Mr. Gaynor served on the Board of Education, and he left us with a beautifully framed poem which expresses his work, his admiration for the work that he did as a board member. But I'd like to read this section from his letter. I will truly miss every one of the wonderful people with whom I've worked at North Colony over the last 16 years. Each of you have enhanced my education, outlook, and life. I've always known that I have led a blessed life. My opportunity to be a member of our North Colony community is simply further proof of that fact. Though not words that I use easily or often, I want everyone to know that serving on our board has truly been both an honor and a privilege. I only hope that my work with PTA Council, and the Board of Education has been in some small way a positive for our district and community. I am indeed a very proud and lucky member of our North Colony community. Respectfully, Charles D. Dave Gaynor.
Very nice.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Gaynor. And we certainly miss you. We've spent a lot of years working together, and we have a high regard for all the work you have done for this district. So thank you. All right, we'll go to business office reports. I'd like a motion to approve the treasurer's report and extra classroom activity fund annual report. Mrs. Pangburn.
Can you hear me? Okay. Okay. I move to approve the treasurer's report, July 2020, and the extra classroom activity fund annual report, July 2019 to June 2020, and July and August 2020 monthly reports as recommended by the Assistant Superintendent for Business.
Thank you. In a second, Mr. Chabot, any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Thank you. I'd like a motion to approve bills and payroll. Ms. Grinnell?
I move to approve bills and payrolls July and August 2020 as recommended by the Assistant Superintendent for Business.
Thank you. And a second, Mrs. Nardolillo, any questions or comments? Hearing none, Mrs. D'Orazio?
Is there something, is it COVID or is there some kind of procedural issue that there are so many purchase orders that are post-dated from the invoices. There's lots and lots of them this month.
It's not atypical at the beginning of the school year to see that. However, I would think that COVID certainly played a role in that, maybe increasing the volume more than normal.
Okay, that's fine.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Thank you. I'd like a motion to approve the investment report. Mr. Shavo,
I move to approve the investment report July 2020 as recommended by the Assistant Superintendent for Business.
thank you. And a second, Mrs. Nardolillo, any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Thank you. I'd like a motion to approve the monthly financial statements. Mr. Cannon,
I move to approve the monthly financial statements July 2020 as recommended by the Assistant Superintendent for Business.
thank you. And a second, Ms. Grinnell, any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Thank you. I'd like a motion to approve the BOCES bill adjustment. Mr. Razio,
I move to approve the BOCE bill adjustment August 2020 as recommended by the Assistant Superintendent for Business.
thank you. And a second, Mr. Cannon, any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Thank you. I'd like a motion to approve bids for waste and recycling renewal. All right, Mr. Shavo,
I move to approve bids for waste and recycling renewal as recommended by the Assistant Superintendent for Business.
thank you. And a second, Mr. Vondell, any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Thank you. I'd like a motion to approve the minutes from our August 24th regular meeting. Mr. Cannon,
I move to approve the minutes of the regular meeting of August 24th, 2020 as recommended by the Superintendent.
thank you. And a second, Mrs. Nardolillo, any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor? Thank you. And I would like a motion to adjourn. Mrs. Pangburn,
I move to adjourn.
thank you. And a second, Mr. Cannon. All in favor? All right, thank you very much. And thank you all for joining us tonight.
Nice job.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Good night,